Ahead of the UFC 296 fight between Leon Edwards and Colby Covington, many former UFC fighters predicted how the fight was likely to play out. The current UFC welterweight champion, Leon Edwards, is a British-Jamaican mixed martial artist. He won 4 fights in a single day in a small event 8 months after beginning his training. Pre-UFC career, Edwards went 8-1 after making his professional debut on June 5, 2011. His winning and defending of the Bama Welterweight Championship was part of a 5-0 record in the sport. The only consequence of his illegal knee throw was disqualification. December 8, 2014, UFC Fight Night, Shogun vs. Saint Preux marked Edwards' UFC debut against Claudio Silva. Although a split decision defeated Edwards, he recovered fast, taking Seth Baksinski 8 seconds into the opening round with a straight left and ground and pound. With a 16-3 record in professional mixed martial arts, Colby Chaos Covington was the UFC interim welterweight champion and presently holds the top ranking in the division. Colby Covington made his UFC debut against An Yang at UFC Fight Night 48. Colby used a TKO to win the bout. Colby would go on to win his next 2 fights over Mike Pyle and Wagner Smith Gomez before suffering his first professional MMA defeat at UFC 194 due to a first-round guillotine choke submission by Warley Alves. Let's see what the UFC undefeated champion Ian Garry predicts for the Edwards vs. Covington fight. In their welterweight title match at UFC 296 this December, Ian Machado Garry is positive that Leon Edwards will smash Colby Covington. Garry was eager to disparage his opponent Covington's abilities from the start. Colby has 0 striking, Garry asserted. He just charges at you, snatching you, pushing you up against the fence so he can sit on you and lie down. It's insane how boring he is in the octagon. The Future went on to compliment his training buddy Edwards and explained how Rocky had the advantages against Covington. Garry clarified, "I've seen the striking, I've trained with Leon. Leon is incredibly neat and tidy. Additionally, based on their prior bouts, Colby had 2 losses to Kamaru Usman. I don't imagine a scenario in which Covington defeats Leon Edwards because Usman lost twice to Leon." After that, Garry made his official prediction for their December encounter and promised to retire Covington in the event that they square off again. "I think Leon is going to defend all of his takedowns and stop him on the feet. I think he'll knock him out, and I absolutely am going to fight Colby at one stage of my career. And I am going to thump the mouth of him, and I promise you I will retire him." Before the contest was officially announced in August, Garry had a similar opinion, dissecting Covington's background and projecting an Edwards victory. For losing, Covington receives a lot of attention. I can assure you that Colby Covington is not the person that the media is portraying him to be. Leon Edwards will simply destroy him in the octagon. Colby Covington's 2 losses against Kamaru Usman are his greatest accomplishments. Leon defeated Kamaru Usman twice in the real world. Garry now has a unique chance to fight for the contender spot and call for the winner of the main event on the same night at UFC 296, alongside Edwards vs. Covington bout. Vincent Luke is scheduled to compete in the same event. It's going to be a popular choice if he can pull it off. The former UFC 2 division champion has made an audacious prediction regarding the main event at UFC 296 between Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. Soon after Edwards defeated Kamaru Usman in their rematch at UFC 286 in the welterweight division, Dana White selected Covington as the next challenger for the title. The 2 fighters will now square off in the main event of UFC 296 on December 16th after a protracted booking process. At UFC 278, Rocky was successfully defending his welterweight title against Usman with a spectacular head kick. In their subsequent rematch, Edwards was able to essentially neutralize the previous champion's takedown strategy and prevail by majority decision. The promotion's final pay-per-view event of the year, UFC 296, features a flyweight title fight between Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Royval, in addition to a number of other highly anticipated bouts that have all been revealed in the past week. The main event of the card is the welterweight title fight. The welterweight sensation Stephen Thompson has shared his thoughts on what to expect from Colby Covington and Leon Edwards' next welterweight title match. Thompson has recently recently offered his thoughts on the upcoming match between Covington and Edwards on Ariel Helwani's The MMA Hour. Thompson recently discussed his hopes for the upcoming championship match in an interview with Ariel Helwani for The MMA Hour, taking the hot seat. I like Leon. You know, he saw what happened with Colby Covington and Usman at UFC 245 and 268, right? Colby Covington is not coming off of a severe knockout from this guy. But if you look back at the fight, it's going to be, I feel like Leon Edwards is the bigger welterweight. I feel like the fight is going to stay standing. I think his takedown defense, even Usman couldn't hold him. According to Thompson's observations, supporters should anticipate a stand-up fight between these two strong welterweights. He points out that Leon Edwards is the stronger fighter and believes that most of the fight will take place on foot. Although he acknowledges Colby Covington's well-known cardio, Thompson highlights Edwards' constant threat and his remarkable skill. The coaches of UFC welterweight Colby Covington, Cesar Carneiro, and Daniel Valverde have released their opinions regarding Chaos and Leon Edwards' impending match. Marcelo Alonso of Sherdog recently interviewed the two instructors of Team MMA Masters. Carneiro gave information regarding Covington's training as an orthodox boxer rather than a southpaw during the exchange, and he projected that Covington would win the bout in the 4th round. It became clear to us that Colby was not a true southpaw. Now that we are aware of this, we can work with him. We succeeded in getting his cross and his orthodox better. He's incredible if you look at him now. He no longer drops his hands like a boxer would have. I don't think it'll make it through the 4th round. Then, echoing Carneiro's opinion, Valverde forecast that Covington would prevail by TKO in the 3rd or 4th round. I think TKO 4th round. UFC 296 Colby Covington will make his 3rd defense of this undisputed welterweight title. Chaos versus Leon Edwards is the main event of the bull, which is scheduled for December 16th at the T-Mobile Arena in Paradise, Nevada. It had been over 2 years since Covington's last fight. The 35-year-old squared up against friend-turned-enemy Jorge Masvidal in the main event's 5 rounds at UFC 272. For most of the bout, Chaos outmatched Masvidal and easily prevailed via unanimous decision. Leon Edwards, the current welterweight champion of the UFC, is already planning his next move following his victory over Colby Covington. Rocky will be closely monitoring the title match between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis in the main event of UFC 297. Edwards stated in a Sky Sports interview that he wanted to challenge the winner of UFC 297 for the middleweight title after potentially defeating Covington. Without a doubt, I'm going to fight the middleweight champion. Any of the two of them would be fantastic in my opinion, especially with someone like Sean Strickland, who I believe is battling Dricus du Plessis. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, hit the like button below. And to stay updated, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Until next time.